I know that the first big program that KTLA had was the running of the Hopalong
The Hopalong.
Cassidy pictures. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Well, we had been a good 3.5 years getting the rights. This goes back to getting the rights to the Hopalong Cassidy character, which was a literary character, came from the books of Mulford, Clarence Mulford. So when Hoppy decided this is what he wanted to do with his life, to be Hopalong and to do some good with it, he had started in 1935 with the films. That they were for theaters. And then it was around end of 42 and 43 that he decided this is what he wanted to do. But we had to go after the rights. Now, there were all the rights, and it was merchandise, it was radio, it was records, there was journalism, they had the comic strips, the whole thing. So everything went. I mean, every last quarter we had went for that, because all the money was going out while we were getting this, and he wouldn't do anything else. He didn't want to, in other words, he wouldn't accept other pictures. He wanted to stay Hopalong Cassidy, which he did. It was in the original contract, which was in 1935, that Clarence Mulford evidently had a very bright lawyer, because he had in that original contract, they banned, they held two, as well as the other rights, was television. Now in 1935, not too many people knew about television. That was it. And when we got that last string, which was then in 48, I guess that was, he made the deal with KTLA to go on that fall session, August, September, whenever that actually was, it started. And, you're right, yeah, I literally put KTLA on the map, because it was and of course from there it blossomed. I mean, he went, I guess it was nationwide, NBC, it was like 50. That was a big year. It started probably in end of 49 something. And then 50, that it just exploded. And then it was all over everything.
What do you think the appeal of Hopalong Cassidy is?
He really was a charismatic character. I don't know, you could see the goodness in him. And I think, and the fact that it wasn't just the children. You found the mothers. I must say, he was one of the handsomest men you've ever seen. He was a beautiful man. Everything went together. His size and his voice and his coloring, had marvelous color. He had high coloring, like a baby, his baby skin, and he had the black eyebrows and the silver hair, which he had was a family trait. He was just a beautiful guy. And as I say, the women, of course, went crazy. And when we were traveling, believe me, it was a problem. Yes, you find them under the beds, they call up and say, I don't want to talk to you, I want to talk to Hoppy. I was going around with a baseball bat, But no, it was good. But the men also admired him. And to see a man with his little child come up and want Hoppy, to talk to him or touch him or something, because he had what, 3 generations. He had the kids, he had the mothers and fathers, and then he had the grandmothers and the grandfathers that remembered him from the silent days as handsome leading man.
No, now here it is, 1948, this whole television revolution. Yeah. He was sort of discovered all over again, and then there was the merchandise, the clothes, and the everything. Talk to me a little about that.
Altogether, something like 2,400 items. I think everything that you can think of. But he was also very careful about that. There were some things that he would not put his name on unless he believed in it and thought it was quality. And you find that everything was quality, because I still see people, they come up and they say, I wore his shirt, my brother wore his shirt, and they go, and I had the whole outfit. And mothers would call and say, please tell my son that you take your spurs off when you go to bed, And police officers would call and say, Hoppy, would you talk to this boy? And they said, and they would say, that would do more good than they could do ever, because they listened. They would listen to Hoppy, and they believed him. They trusted him.
Now, wasn't it unusual for a hero to be all wearing black clothes? Was he the first?
I think so, because they always said the white hats were the good guys. But it was a brilliant move, I think, because it was a powerful black and white. The horse is white, and the horse was, oh, what a blessing he was. Because he actually saw. Most horses, they kind of look, but they're not really registering, And Topper would look, and he just loved to look. He would let kids, they'd pull hairs out of his tail and parade. And I saw him once down San Diego. There was a bunch of kids around him, and I could see kind of Topper was doing this. I didn't know what it was until later. I saw Bill reach down and pick up this little 3-year-old or something from under the horse's belly. He had been saying, "Hoppy, Hoppy, Hoppy," on the door. He was hitting the horse's belly, and he'd pick him up and put him on the horse. But that Topper you trusted him. And when Topper died, that's when he said, "Okay, no more parades."
He had a great laugh, didn't he?
Oh, could you? You couldn't miss it. When he first called me for a date, when he first called me, he didn't know, of course, that I had been in love with him since I was 12 years old, back in Brooklyn. That's when I fell in love with him. I just thought he was the most gorgeous thing I'd ever seen. And I had his name all over my school books. And I came out. I was going to be a concert pianist. I had a 2-year scholarship to Eastman School of Music in Rochester, New York. And actually, a producer saw me in dancing school. And I wasn't for career-wise. It was just the young girls went to dancing school then. And he saw me, said, I'm putting a show on Broadway in the fall. I'd like you to be in my show. And Mother and I were just, that was it. Dad had died when I was 10. She was an only child. I was an only child. And I think she thought it might be exciting, to try it. So all of a sudden I was in show business. And I did the show. I did everything in New York. I worked 20 hours a day. But then Paramount, a director from Paramount saw me. And I was dancing at the Paradise, which was one of the 2 top nightclubs in New York in those days, which was owned by the gangsters. They owned everything then. And right across the street, I was at the Paradise, and right across the street was the Hollywood. And who am I thinking? Harriet Nelson was there with Ozzy, and that's when we first knew each other. And then she wound up, we were practically neighbors. She lived down the road a bit here in Laguna. So, until she died just last year. But that's how I got out to California. And so when he called, but talking about, going back to that, when he called, I thought, everybody knew me, knew how crazy and I had this mad crush on him. And I'd had my romances, but no, he was the one, always. And so I thought it was somebody pulling my leg. This is William Boyd, sure, sure you are. And so I played it very cool, and he was inviting me. He was having a small party at his Malibu place, and would I join him there? And I don't know, I said something, and he laughed. That did it. I mean, who could, copy that laugh? So I was pretty much nothing, nothing would come out. So fine, but I made it a date that he would come and pick me up. I was not going to go meet him anyplace. So he came to the door. Mother answered the door. I had a little townhouse in Beverly Hills, and I was upstairs. And she said, "Grace will be down in a minute." And I came down, and he told me later, he said, "I saw the legs, I saw the body, I saw the face." And when I came down, he put his arms out, and I walked right into his arms. And I started to, I tear up very easily. I'm very emotional. And I started to tear up, and I thought, oh, yeah, this is no way to do it. But it was, that was it. He proposed the third night. Said I would have proposed the first night, except I was afraid of scaring you to death. And we were married 3 weeks to the day we met. And we had to wait that 3 weeks because he was, in those days it was a year for a divorce, and he was 3 weeks away from a divorce when we met. And we met, and then he said, I'm going to take you up to the ranch, I'm going to take your shoes away from you, and I'm going to plant cactus all around the place, so behave yourself, you know. I don't want to be doing this again. So what? It was 35 years.
Oh, that's great.